Don't ask clients why they're sitting in front of me. The brain tells us everything we need to know, provided we have a good mechanism for evaluating it. And what the process that I use is referred to as the clinical cue, and the reason I'm emphasizing clinical is we use a clinical database, not a normative database, and there is a huge difference between the normative and the clinical database. Clinical database built on individuals who come in and they're seeking treatment for a condition that has manifested itself. A lot of people are walking around with neurological predispositions that haven't manifested. What we want to know is for clients who are seeking treatment that have a manifested condition, what does the brain activity look like? So that's what we mean by a clinical database. Now, you'll notice here, this is a book by Susan Olding, published by, I forget the publisher, discussing some of the trials and tribulations she had in trying to get adequate treatment for her young child. You'll notice she says, I gave him, meaning me, her daughter's medical and developmental history. Dr. Swingle waved the papers aside without even looking at them. I make a big deal out of that. I don't want to know anything about the client before I'm actually doing a brain assessment. and excuse me, here I'm just going over with her what the brain told me about her child's condition, and this is her summary. One by one, he read the ratio, dividing my daughter more quickly, more accurately than any professional I'd yet encountered. And that's 6.5 minutes of recording time, and that's the accuracy and precision of the clinical cue. Clinical cue is based on looking at 5 important areas of the brain, and these are the ones circled right here. This is the raw data generated from a child. The only thing I know about this child is the child is 13 years old and the child is a male. And 99 numbers here, those 99 numbers boil down to this summary, 22 numbers. Now, I know a huge amount about this child just from these data. First of all, I know he has ADD. And the reason I know that is because the ratio of slow to fast activity up over the sensory motor cortex, that is the centermost spot in the brain, is sitting at 2.7. A child his age, it should be below 2.2 or so. Now, it's interesting that the FDA just approved of a diagnostic procedure based on diagnosing ADD that is exclusively based on the theta-beta ratio. There are many, many other forms of ADD, not covered by that diagnostic procedure. But it's interesting that even the FDA is catching up with present contemporary neurological treatment. Now, the second thing I know about this child is he has the worst type of ADD of this nature, and that is when he's under cognitive challenge, in other words, reading, the condition gets worse. So these are the kids, the harder they try, the worse it gets, and these are the kids that quit. Our prisons are loaded with young adolescents, males with this kind of ADD condition. And as you know, the prison populations have a lot of ADD males in it. So that's the first thing I know. Second thing I know is, and I'm a little concerned about marijuana use here because of slowing. They've recently found that young children who are using marijuana at an early age, before mid-20s, or when they look at it longitudinally, they have reduced IQ. And that's what it is right there. And we've identified that for a long period of time. Again, people are starting to catch up. Okay, so you can imagine the impact I have on a child when I say you have a condition associated with problems with staying focused, but it also gets worse so that the harder you try, the worse it gets. And I make a big deal out of that. And usually the child starts to break down under these circumstances because the child's not a happy camper, obviously. And I also tell the mother to leave us alone for a minute, and I confront him on the marijuana use, but that's a little